This is your economics video on the supply curve shifters. So we just talked about how the supply line is the behavior of sellers or people that produce products and then sell them in the market. And remember, to be in the market as a seller, you have to be both willing and able to sell the product. So these are the shifters that are going to change the entire market's supply. So not just one particular company, but all of the companies that are in competition with one another to sell their products. So the supply curve is going to show those effects on how much quantity is supplied in total in the market by all of the businesses that provide these goods. And it can then also shift your supply line either to the right or to the left. So in general, are suppliers going to supply more or less goods to the market? You will also have to memorize these as well. The things that affect supply are typically things that go into producing the product. So the first one is what we call input prices. These are also called costs, right? Because cost is the thing that it takes to make the product. You sell it at a price which brings in revenue. The difference is the profit. So if your inputs change, that's going to change the cost it took to produce the product. Inputs also are referred to as factors of production because they go into producing. These are land or all natural resources, laborers and the types of skills your laborers have, capital equipment and capital stock, which is like machinery and equipment, technology, and of course, creative ideas, which is entrepreneurship. If these particular inputs are cheaper and there's a fall in input prices, then that means production is going to be more profitable. Because if your costs go down, whatever price you're selling the good at is suddenly more profitable. That is going to increase your entire supply line or shift it to the right. If input prices become more expensive, then your supply line will shift to the left because then you have less money to be able to produce more units. Technology is also thought of as an input because businesses are using so much technology today. We are going to talk about it separately. Typically, companies purchase and implement technology in their business because they believe that it's going to help them be more efficient or more profitable in the future. So generally, a business is not going to input a product or buy a technology that's going to make their business worse off. I mean, it can happen. Computers have viruses and factories have to get shut down for maintenance and things. But let's say that they improve their technology and that saves them money on their cost, then that means their input costs are cheaper. That would shift supply to the right. The third one is the total number of producers or sellers in the economy. So remember, producers and sellers are the people that are competing for all the customers. So if more people move into a market to sell a product to you, then they're each going to have their own supply or inventory of that product to give out or to sell when they need to. So if the number of producers rises in a certain place, then the total number of units in that particular area is going to increase. So supply will shift to the right. Businesses make a lot of their decisions based on expectations because businesses are generally trying to stay in business for not just 1 year, but 5 years, 10 years, and they often have business plans about what they expect in the future. So a firm is always trying to figure out future expectations, particularly of what their input costs are going to be and what the future for their business looks like. So if they believe that the product that they're selling is going to see a price increase in the future, then there's a chance that the business could hold back on the supply now, wait until the price rises, and then flood the market with a larger supply at a later time. This happens a lot when you think about Christmas holiday shopping. Because we buy a lot of goods and services in November and December, businesses actually overproduce those products during the summer and keep them in storage, and then they increase the supply in November as opposed to when they actually made the products, which was over the summer. So firms can often play around with the current supply of goods and services if they expect the price of their good to change in the future, or if they expect one of their inputs to change. So for example, if to make a product you really need you're making t-shirts and you need cotton in order to make the fabric, and cotton is really cheap right now, you might buy a whole bunch of cheap inputs, and that will allow you to produce more units of t-shirts. The fifth one is prices of related goods and services. A lot of the time, businesses don't just sell one product. They sell a whole bunch of different types of products, and some of them might be similar. So if you are thinking about the Clorox company, they sell Clorox wipes, but they also sell Clorox disinfectant. And they have various factories that do both. So they could shift some of their factories away from making cleaning solutions and increase the capacity for how many units of wipes that they're making for Clorox wipes. So a business has to decide how much of their factory's production they want to use on each good or service. The example that I have here on the PowerPoint is for crude oil. So crude oil is pumped out of the ground. It's raw product. It's a raw natural resource, but it is then refined and it goes to an oil refinery, and it's produced. It produces or is used to make a lot of things, gasoline probably being the most important. But crude oil and petroleum also is for heating oil, tars, waxes, things like chapsticks. Certain textiles like polyester are made from crude oil, and plastic is all made from crude oil. So the price of crude oil in the marketplace will be an input cost, but the refinery could use that capacity to refine oil into gasoline, or to refine the oil into making things like a chapstick and clothing and plastics based upon what the particular company thinks is most profitable. So if one of these particular goods is selling really well and demand is rising and they see a lot of profit in that area, then they're going to increase their supply of the goods that are the most profitable. For your next active learning, number 15, I want you to put this on your active learning page. All of these 3 questions you are going to answer for the market for tax return software. I know you probably haven't done your taxes yet, but you have 2 options. You can hire a professional accountant to do the taxes for you, or you can go and buy one of these software packages, TaxCut, H&R Block, TurboTax, and then that software helps you to just do your taxes at home by yourself. So answer A, B, and C about the supply in the market for tax return software.